do them in one of the like the canvasy kind of cover things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They call like
Sunshades.
shades.
Yeah.
I got one that looks like foam.
Huh.
It doesn't have quite
I
the
guess that
coverage
would
I
change,
thought it
yeah.
would. I thought it'd have a little more coverage. So now I'm looking at it. So we may like get another one because they're cheap.
Right.
They're socks.
Super
Yeah.
cheap. Yeah.
And get another one, maybe a slightly different color, and just like layer them a little bit, and then put another post. Like I'm thinking like on top of my new wall,
Yep.
just like a shorter like 3-foot post,
Mm-hmm.
just to give us more coverage.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
really
That's.
checks so far.
We're doing something similar. We have this old barn out behind our house, and it has this nasty lean-to on the backside of it. It's got these old timbers that are holding up the roof structure. Literally Saturday, I'm knocking down that whole lean-to. We're gonna use those posts and do shades. We're gonna create this patio area back
Nice.
behind our
Yeah.
barn.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think I'll go to the bathroom.
I was actually thinking that.
Huh? Well, might as well. Okay. Hello. Hey guys, can you hear me? Eric, I'm Michael, Jenny, AJ. Hey Darren. Well, I think I just heard myself on Eric's computer, so should be good to go there. We'll get things started here in just a couple seconds, guys. Oh, 10:01, time to party. Oh, hey Evan. Oh, they wanted to keep that.
Oh, I stole it just for this, and then I'm gonna give it back to her.
Oh, I was just gonna talk to this sign.
That works.
You wanna sit down?
Are we on?
We are on.
Cool.
We've been on. Hey guys, welcome to Live with Lincoln Select. I am here today with Justin Fulbright with Complete Inspection Services. As you guys are probably aware, we do this every other Thursday at 10 o'clock. So I really appreciate you guys being on today. And do put it in your schedule or your calendar to join us in 2 weeks from now, again, every Thursday at 10 o'clock. So, Justin, who are you?
I am Justin Fulbright. I own Complete Inspection Services. Thanks, Matt. Fun little mic. I and my wife own and operate Complete Inspection Services. We're a home inspection company here in, I would say, Lincoln, but we do service southeast Nebraska in general. Radon testing, home inspections, that's what we do. That's all we do. We value the integrity that we put into the inspection process. We find that by simply being the home inspectors, doing the radon testing, we're able to offer folks a lot of confidence that what we're giving them as far as the information is as confident as we can, that the results are sound and that we don't have any type of a bias with the findings. We're not going to suggest the work be done by somebody that's in-house. We simply report the findings and let the transaction keep moving from there. So,
Let me see this.
yes.
So, I mean, you had mentioned there you're not going to suggest anything that you're going to take care of in-house.
Right.
And so many of you guys may or may not know, depending on, if you're just a general consumer or a real estate agent, or, it's pretty common. There's quite a few inspection companies out there that, do radon testing, and then the next day, someone from that company will be out giving you a radon bid. Mm-hmm. And so there's, some questions there that could arise, like, do I actually have radon? Is someone just trying to get me to put a radon system in? Not saying that occurs, but, you just never know. And so, working with a company like Complete, they don't have any interest or invested interest in anything outside of protecting the consumer and in educating the consumer or the home buyer or seller, because you guys do seller inspections.
We do a lot of pre-sale inspections. We've actually found quite a bit of benefit. I'm going to grab my sign here. The sign that apparently Matt was talking to earlier. So we do a lot of these pre-inspections for sellers in the area, and we found that it's able to shorten closing times. Folks are able to navigate the process a little bit more efficiently at their own pace. When we work for these sellers, we're able to point out some things that maybe they weren't aware of, things that may pop up during a buyer's inspection, or things that maybe can help make their home a little bit more marketable. We found quite a bit of a success with that, and I think that it's an added value, it's an added service that we can provide, and certainly I think does speak to the experience, the skill level of myself and our team that we have gained that respect in the area with our pre-inspections. We've had a lot of sellers that have quite a bit of success with those. We're too far apart.
Mike said scoot closer. Jenny said that's a really big microphone. Cool. Well, as saying, you mentioned, as a seller, definitely makes your home more marketable. I can tell you, as someone that lists homes, if a buyer's walking through that home and we can provide to them a report stating, this is what is wrong with the house, it really puts a little more ease on their shoulders and makes them more confident in writing an offer on that house. I know I personally did that when I sold my last home. Had an inspection done, came out, with 4 or 5 things. I went through and, had somebody clean that up, and then it made the process of selling my house way, way less annoying and stressful for us. So,
well, that's the thing. Most of the repairs, most of the things that we talk about are maintenance related. They're simple, they're easily to navigate, but we find that, like in the pre-sale inspection, if a seller can handle it pre-list, they're able to do it much more efficiently at their own dime. If we do present that for the buyer, it's good information the buyer can use to navigate their transaction. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that's all we're trying to do is help buyer or seller understand the home that we're talking about. It's really not our place to kill the deal, to sell the house, if you will, but simply to help folks understand a little bit more the property that they're working with.
Cool. Looks like Amy is now watching. Hi, Amy. Amy is my wife. Hey. AJ is also watching, which is Justin's wife. Thanks for supporting us, guys. So, Justin, a little bit more about you. So, you service Lincoln. Mm-hmm. How long have you been in the Lincoln area?
Personally living here? Oh, gosh. We lived in the Lincoln area now for about 16 years. I actually hail from southwest Montana. We came down here quite a while ago. Honestly, it's a much better place to raise a family. We've been very happy here. We have 2 young children. a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, and it's just been tremendous. We found that the Lincoln area really has embraced us. I mean, gosh, we've been here for a couple decades now, but we found that what's really been nice with what we do, we find that the community is very collaborative and is open to working with solid vendors like ourselves. As we establish these conversations with folks, we find that it's very well received, and I think in general it's an area that really embraces the quality and really I think validates somebody that's willing to work hard for somebody and is willing to put out the best product that we can. And that's been our goal, and so far it's been well received.
Cool. How long is you have extensive inspection services before you guys started Complete Inspection Services? How long have you guys had Complete, and then throughout your career as a home inspector, how many home inspections have you done?
Well, loaded question. So yes, I was with another vendor before. We started Complete early 2016, so we're about 3.5 years now with Complete. Complete Inspection Services is completed. I think we're around 2,500 inspections now.
Oh, wow.
We do have multiple inspectors that work for us, so on a weekly basis we're able to touch about 20 to 30 homes in general. So obviously, it's a give or take market. We've been lucky that we've been in a strong market for those years, but we have found that our specific services have lent itself to us being a little bit more busy.
Nice.
Now, personally, I've been inspecting for, I think this is my 8th or 9th season, and I'm somewhere around 5,000, a little north of 5,000 inspections. So the main thing that I found is with that experience comes context. We've found that a lot of home inspectors that maybe haven't done it a ton, it can get caught up on, well, you're supposed to call something out, so you do. And we're able to think through the building science a little bit more using context and our experience to really help the client, I think, a little bit more thoroughly and probably with a little bit more of the big picture in mind. One of the focuses that we've had with Complete was just a real honest, thorough inspection, not just calling things out because they're on the box to check.
Yeah, and I see that for sure because, I mean, you call out things, and I have the ASHI standards of practice down here on the floor that we'll get to a little later. But, going through that list, I mean, there's things that you call out all the time that aren't necessarily on that list, and so you definitely go above and beyond.
Yeah, it's a minimum standard.
So that being said, I had a question. It was going to be a really good one. Oh, so back to context, you'd said that you'd done about 5,000 inspections. For you guys watching here, last year in Lincoln, or in the Lincoln MLS, only 4,800 pre-existing homes sold. So you basically
that wasn't all last year.
No, but you've done enough inspections that you literally could have walked through every single home that sold last year, which is a lot of homes. So that says something. That means you've seen a lot of things. Yeah. So let's segue that to kind of where I wanted to go next with this. And I'm kind of curious, maybe what the top 3 to 5 things you've seen in a home that just baffled you, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I would say the home itself, the bones of the home, the framing, whatnot. Unfortunately, after a while, that's just kind of the norm. We're used to seeing most things happen with a house. The ability to walk into a house and see floors gone or dramatic changes to the structure, that'll catch you off guard. But I would say the most interesting thing that we see is the people. We see a lot of sellers living in their home, maybe in different positions. They're in a state of flux with their own life. But I got to admit, Matt, probably the craziest thing we see day in, day out is animals.
Oh.
We do a lot of our inspections with dogs running around the house, cats. I just had a cat the other day that refused to let me put paper in my printer.
Oh.
Apparently I was using the wrong paper.
You just sat up there and just swatted at you?
Batted at the paper over and over again. We had one house a few years ago where the gal, the seller that lived in the home, wanted to cook me breakfast.
Oh.
And proceeded to start a fire.
So then you had to inspect that fire.
Yes.
That's quite funny.
And then of course everybody always brings up the empty homes and some of the ghost stories that may exist out there. And I got to admit, I haven't been privy to too many of those.
Oh.
A couple every once in a while have a squeak or a moan, but no, in general, I take a lot of energy. I really enjoy working with the people. I would say that's the thing that jumps out to me the most.
Yeah, and I say, that definitely comes across. And I mean, I can't even count how many inspections that I've been at that you've done. And I've used other inspection companies, because my clients get to choose who they use. And it really does come back to how the inspector engages with the buyer, because that's a big part of the process, and understanding how to communicate with people. And so you do that very well. The inspectors that you've hired underneath you to work and help support your guys' business, they also do a fantastic job of that. I see a really long thing here from Evan. Is there anything you would recommend a seller to do before they list a home? Is it better to have an inspection? Got to push see more before you list? Well, Evan, the first thing you'd want to do is definitely call Lincoln Select Real Estate Group at Nebraska Realty before you go to list your home. But I would say, I would absolutely say have an inspection. But what are your thoughts on that, Justin?
I would say in the pre-sale inspections that we complete, the main thing that I find over and over again is probably deferred maintenance. It seems overly simplistic, but remember to change your furnace filters. Remember to make sure smoke alarms are there. Make sure that your CO detectors are there if necessary. Make sure they all work. There's some really obvious things that we see in homes, leaky faucets, things that that folks probably are aware of, and certainly buyers are going to alert on that stuff as well. So I would say for a smoother transaction, take care of the stuff that's obvious to you. If you think it's not right, most likely the buyer is going to alert on it the same way. So just take care of those easy things. Make sure stuff's clean. Make sure you have access to everything.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that 100%. I mean, regardless if you have an inspection, before you go on the market or after, there's more than likely going to be an inspection there. And so if, that fresh set of eyes, Justin or somebody with his team can come through and point those things out for you and open your eyes to it. Like you said, a lot of it's easy, go buy, a $12 thing of caulking from the store, go get a little, pint-sized thing of paint to paint up some of your trim around your windows, and clean everything out. And it goes a long way. So, well, before we get too carried away and down too many crazy roads, like I said, I do have the ASHI guidelines practice. I got to turn a little bit so you can't see my answers here. So I'm going to hit 6 different topics here, and I'm going to say 3.
So real quick to touch on what that is. So what Matt's holding is the ASHI Standards of Practice. Thanks for springing that on me, Matt. So the American Society of Home Inspectors is a body that has certified that my inspections and that my knowledge is consistent with the level that they want to see. Basically, I've taken proctored tests, we have continuing education, and there's requirements to maintain that certification. That being said, the state of Nebraska does not require those certifications to do home inspections. So it's a higher level that we hold ourselves to, but it is a minimum standard. So there are things that we do at Complete that go above and beyond those minimum standards.
Yep. And we talked about that earlier. I see that every day where you're calling out stuff that necessarily isn't required to be called out, but it's the right thing to do. So, well, like I said, so we have 6 different components of homes that I'm gonna read through here. I'm gonna read 3 things, and 2 of them are correct, or 2 of them are required, or so, and 1 is not necessarily required to be inspected by a home inspector. So, the first is the exterior of the home. So, an inspector should inspect wall coverings, flashings, and trim. That's one thing. I'm sorry. The second thing is vegetation grading and surface drainage, and the third thing is soil conditions.
We don't do anything with soil conditions.
Okay.
If it involves lab testing, it'd be beyond our scope. We're not sending dirt off to a lab or anything.
And that's not as common here in Lincoln to be as much of an issue. If you guys happen to be watching from maybe Omaha, which is just up the road, that does come into play a little more. There are areas in Omaha in which there's soil contaminated by lead. And so you can, of course, if you live in those areas and have to be watching, there are numbers you can call and get free lead soil tests done. And then if that is found in your soil, they'll actually replace the top layer of your soil, which is pretty cool. All right. The next topic here is roofing. Again, 3 things are correct, or 2 things are correct, 1 is not. So an inspector should inspect roofing materials, antennas, and skylights, chimneys, and roof penetrations.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything with the antennas. We would view that as a low voltage item, which is excluded. You'll find most home inspectors in the area, they're not going to be focused on whether or not you can dial in ESPN on your TV. We're there to make sure that the outlets work and that the home can heat and cool itself.
Very good, very good. And that includes like do you check doorbells?
Yes.
Okay.
We try to assess. Sometimes if they're more of like a battery operated, we'll still assess what's their general condition.
Because that's low voltage. Your cables, low voltage, internet, all that stuff. So not going to be handling that. Michael, how common is radon? I have had 3 houses tested in Lincoln and have had 0 positive tests. Michael, we'll get to that here in just a second after we're done. So radon.
Good question. Yeah.
Definitely. The next is plumbing. And so, again, there are 2 wrongs or 2 rights and a wrong here. The inspector should inspect the washing machine, the water heater, or fuel storage and fuel distribution systems.
Yeah, so typically kind of a challenging one. There's some gray areas there. Washing machines typically would be considered personal storage or personal items, similar to the television story that I said. We're not going to run your TV. We're not going to run your washing machine. That being said, again, minimum guidelines. A lot of washers and dryers do stay with the home now. A lot of these transactions are being taken care of with those. So as a courtesy, we do.
You guys there? I hope
It's a
so.
live show.
Grandma called. Call you back, Grandma, if you're watching. Cool. All right, next, electrical. Again, plumbing and electrical, probably a couple things that have a lot of impact on your inspections.
I was going to mention on that last one too, things like fuel storage.
Oh, yeah.
If they're an underground oil tank, things like that, they're going to be beyond our scope. The challenge we run into with Complete is because ASHI is a minimum standard, there are some things that we obviously do above and beyond. So
yeah, definitely. Perfect. So again, back to electrical here. There are 2 rights and 1 wrong. The inspector should inspect the service grounding, measure amperage and voltage, and determine if there's overcurrent protection devices in place.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to do anything with the amperage and voltage. We'll be able to assess that the correct wires are connected to the correct breakers and so on, but as far as actually determining what the devices are drawing, for instance, if your oven is drawing too much power and it's tripping breakers, we would only be able to see that the breaker trips.
Yeah.
But not why and more than that.
Okay. And we have two topics left. The next is heating or HVAC. The inspector should inspect the installed heating equipment, humidifiers and dehumidifiers, and the vent systems, flues, and chimneys.
Yeah, the humidifiers and dehumidifiers would be beyond our scope. It's impossible to tell how much it's actually humidifying. At Complete, we do still evaluate general condition if we have leaking. Typically in our climate, we're going to see mostly humidifiers. Dehumidifiers we find to be mostly the portable ones that people stick in their basements. But as far as the humidifiers, the water panels inside the units, we'll assess those conditions and so on. But the performance, we do exclude.
Perfect. Yep. And you see that quite a bit. I've seen you guys call out like the filters being all clogged up with stuff. So, and then the last one here, interiors of home. There are the few things here have multiple items, and so I'll go through those. But the inspector should inspect wall, ceilings, and floors, central vacuums, and steps, stairways, and railings.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything with the central vac systems. Again, we're not there to clean folks' house. Yeah. We'll make sure that the electrical feeding the system is correct, but as far as determining the efficiency or effectiveness of a central vac would be beyond our scope.
Yeah. Well, I think you went 6 for 6, which is as expected.
That's good.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, Rachel and Brad. So let's go back to Michael's question here. He was asking, how common radon is. Yeah. You said he's had 3 houses in Lincoln and has had 0 positive results.
Yeah, I would say that's probably an anomaly, in fact. Nebraska as a state is 3rd highest in the country for likelihood of an elevated reading. So we do quite a bit of testing. A little over half of our inspections typically will have radon testing, and state average is a little over 60%, close to 2/3 of the homes tested come back with an elevated reading. Now, one common misconception is that if you're an elevated reading that you have to do something. So both to buyers and sellers out there, I think it's important to remember it's a suggested action at this point. There is no requirement for action. So we simply provide the number and then let our buyers and sellers understand context. We talk about the radon, of course, and ultimately it's up to the buyers and sellers what action is taken.
Yeah, and time of year I think is really dependent on that, and weather conditions. A lot of that stuff matters. So, if you're floating, the EPA recommends I think under 4 parts, and you can say the measure. Do you know the?
Yeah, so of course I do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's per liter, millions. I don't know.
At 4 picocuries per liter or above,
there we go.
That would be the actionable level, or the suggested actionable level. And yes, we do have clients that want to be proactive. You'll find information through the federal EPA website and whatnot that talk about even levels above a 2 can still benefit from action. So, but the line in the sand that the federal EPA has drawn is at a 4.
Okay. Yep. I know. I personally, I had an inspection a couple of years ago where radon popped or came back at like 4.2, so just over that threshold. And then there were some flashing issues on the roof, and so we had a roofer out, and we said we do the radon mitigation or put the mitigation system in. And the roofer discovered that there was a bunch of roof felts in the flue for the furnace, which of course dampened or inhibited the ability of the house to breathe correctly.
Yeah.
And so we removed all of that felt that was in there, and then my clients had it retested, and it came back under 2.
Interesting.
It was very interesting. However, the buyers didn't care; they still wanted the radon. So it's what it is. So,
yeah.
AJ is going to put you on the spot here again.
Ooh.
We'll try to keep this appropriate. But she is asking, what is the weirdest thing you have ever seen in someone else's home? And I like how she said someone else's home, because
Right.
she's like, there's no way that you're going to find something that outdoes how weird my house is what she's saying there.
Every once in a while you'll pop your head into an attic and you'll find a creepy old rocking chair. You'll find walking into a basement that maybe a vacant home, and you walk into a basement that has a bunch of dolls. So there's
That's
those types
creepy.
of things that happen. Animals, again, snakes, bats, the random spiders, unfortunately, is fairly common in our line of work. The weirdest, boy, caught me off guard there.
Thanks, AJ.
Thanks, AJ. I would say probably people just using materials in a different manner than they're intended. For instance, drawing their home water supply from a garden hose from the neighbor's house, or the upper apartment is powered by an extension cord to somebody else's house. The things that are again atypical. We don't see them much.
Cool.
So.
Yep. Well, guys, we are probably taking up enough of your guys' time. We do appreciate every one of you that had watched today. Like I said, we will be here every other Thursday. The corn cob ?
Who brought that one up?
That was AJ.
That was AJ?
Yeah, we should stop AJ.
Right. So those of you that don't know, AJ is my lovely wife. She was privy to a picture that I took last summer, I believe it was, in an inspection. We found where this 100-plus-year-old house, in its framing members in the basement, had embedded in the wood a corn cob, which one could only imagine happened in a storm or something. But yeah, it was.
That's pretty cool.
That one was an interesting one. Good work, AJ.
Yeah, thanks, AJ, for reminding us of that. Well, again, guys, Lincoln Slug Real Estate Group, Nebraska Realty. This is Justin Fulbright. I don't know. I almost forgot your name there.
It happens.
I wanted to call you AJ, I bet.
It happens.
She's the boss anyway. With complete inspection services. And we live with Lincoln Select every other Thursday, 10 o'clock. You'll have great people like Justin on there that we're talking and helping you guys understand what's going on with the process of every and any part of real estate. But we thank you guys for being here, and Justin, I thank you for being on today.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care, man.
You too.
See you guys 2 weeks.